Donald Trump just made his boldest move yet against the Federal Reserve. And if he succeeds, interest rates could be slashed faster than anyone expects. Every single time in history that has happened, markets have exploded, and XRP was right there in the middle of it. But here's the shocking twist: almost nobody is connecting how this move could directly ignite the next crypto rally. Today I'll break down exactly what's happening, why it matters, and why XRP could be the biggest winner of them all. So why is Trump suddenly going after the Fed right now? And how could this political fight translate into one of the biggest opportunities we've seen in crypto? Let's dive in. Here's what's happening. Donald Trump is going after Fed Governor Lisa Cook, demanding that she resign after a criminal referral surfaced against her. Now, whether or not that allegation holds up isn't the point. The real story is that Lisa Cook has been one of the strongest voices at the Fed pushing against cutting rates. She's been echoing Jerome Powell's cautious stance, saying inflation is still too risky to ease policy. But Trump has a problem: he can't fire Jerome Powell directly. So instead, he's doing the next best thing. He's systematically targeting governors like Cook who stand in his way, and replacing them with people who want lower rates immediately. If Cook resigns and Trump gets his way, that would give him a majority inside the Fed pushing for aggressive cuts. And what happens when rates get slashed? Liquidity floods into the market. Money becomes cheaper. Risk assets, especially crypto, see massive inflows. Every single time in history, Bitcoin and XRP have surged when the Fed eases. So the real question is, if Trump pulls this off, how big could the move be this time? Because this isn't just about one Fed governor. This connects to a much bigger story playing out on Wall Street right now, and if you miss it, you're going to miss the setup of a lifetime. Think about it: the last time the Fed went into easing mode, trillions of dollars poured into markets. Stocks hit record highs. Crypto went on its biggest bull run ever. Now we're in 2025, and adoption is at a completely different level. We've got ETFs. We've got institutions involved. We've got retail interest flooding back in. So if Trump forces rate cuts now, the amount of liquidity that could hit this market is unlike anything we've seen before. And XRP isn't just another asset floating in that tide. It has a unique position. Because unlike Bitcoin, which moves mostly as a store of value, XRP is tied to payment rails, settlement systems, and the exact type of liquidity injections that rate cuts supercharge. The setup is almost too perfect. But here's where it gets even crazier. Because while Trump is clearing the way for cheaper money, Goldman Sachs is pointing to a brand new market worth trillions. And XRP is sitting right in the middle of it. Goldman Sachs just released a report projecting that the stablecoin market could reach trillions of dollars in value. And they're not talking about decades from now. They're talking about this decade. Why? Because stablecoins are backed by US Treasuries. Every time someone buys a stablecoin, more US debt gets funded. That's exactly what the government wants: more demand for its bonds. But here's the kicker: every single one of those stablecoin transactions needs rails. And that means Ethereum, Solana, and yes, XRP. If institutions like JP Morgan, BlackRock, and Goldman themselves are rolling out stablecoins, they're going to need infrastructure. They'll need to hold the assets that process these transactions. They'll need XRP to make it all work at scale. Now combine that with a flood of liquidity from Trump's rate cuts, and you start to see the bigger picture. But the real shocker is just how high analysts believe XRP could actually go. Because the numbers floating around right now aren't just ambitious. They might sound completely insane. But let me walk you through them. Some analysts are already calling for XRP between $15 and $48, and that's just from stablecoin adoption. That doesn't even factor in the possibility of an XRP ETF, Ripple's partnerships with global banks, or cross-border settlement through SWIFT. Now think about that. XRP hitting $15 to $48 purely because trillions are flowing into stable coins. That's not hype. That's mechanics. That's how the system would work. And if history is any guide, these types of projections often end up being conservative. But before we all get too excited, we have to face the other side of the coin. Because the risks are real, and they're piling up fast. Look around. Inflation in the UK has started rising again after rate cuts. Bankruptcies in the US are already 12% above pandemic levels. Unemployment is ticking higher. The system is straining under its own weight. And this is exactly why crypto exists. Because while governments can print infinite dollars, they can't print more XRP. They can't print more Bitcoin. They can't print more Solana. Digital assets have rules. They can't be inflated away. That's why this moment feels like a turning point. On one side, a broken fiat system. On the other, a new digital framework built on assets that can't be manipulated the same way. And Trump's move against the Fed might just be the spark that accelerates that shift. So here's where we stand. Trump is fighting for control of the Fed. Wall Street is preparing for a multi-trillion-dollar stablecoin boom. And XRP is sitting right at the center of both. Put all the pieces together, and suddenly the idea of XRP at $20 doesn't just sound realistic, it might actually be conservative. So let me throw it to you. If Trump wins this fight, how high do you think XRP could go? 15? 20? 50? Drop your prediction in the comments, I'll be reading them all. And if you don't want to miss the next massive shift in this market, hit that subscribe button right now, because the next few months could define the entire bull run.